Okay, so tell me you're virtue signaling without telling me that you're virtue signaling. Back in my day, this is what we would have called a tool. If this guy was swinging off the black phallus any harder, he'd be their nutsack.
Black people need to stop complaining about systemic racism and take some personal responsibility.
Correct.
Everyone is equal under the law now.
This too is also correct. See, what you got to understand is the system don't care about you. It don't care if you're white. It don't care if you're black. The only thing that the system cares about is total control over everybody. And the only color that's ever had privilege in this country is green. Don't let these idiots try to tell you any different.
They may be policed more, but that's only because they commit a disproportionate amount of the crime. Why?
This is also true. The black community is 13% of the population and yet is responsible for 50% of the crimes. Just stats.
I'm not saying that black people are naturally more likely to be criminals or anything. I just think it's a part of their culture. Why?
Another thing, most people don't understand the difference between black skin color and black culture. You might want to look into that.
Well, probably because their dads weren't around to raise them properly. Why?
That is a good question. The single motherhood rate went from 20% all the way up to 70% in not that long of a stretch. That's because the system is breaking up the family. Not just blacks, but whites too.
I don't know, probably because they were too poor to afford a kid, so they left. Why? Well, they probably can't get a good job because they never went to college.
Wrong. It's because they didn't even bother to finish graduating high school. And unfortunately, and this ain't me saying it, but it's statistics, black people graduate far less in high school than any other culture, even despite the conditions being the same for other people. There's more than an abundance of other cultures that grow up in poverty, but still yet make it out.
Why? Well, I guess it is probably because they couldn't afford it, but they didn't get good enough grades to get a scholarship either. Why? Well, I guess that is probably because their school is underfunded. Why? Because school funding is determined by property taxes and they were born into poor areas.
Wrong. Well, they are funded by taxes. Try dumping more money into public schools. And look at places like Chicago. The educational system just got worse and crime still went up. Imagine that. And also worth noting, you might want to look at what part of the political spectrum that they're on. Just saying.
Why? Because their family hasn't been able to build enough wealth to move out. Why? Because the first black people who were born with equal rights under the law are less than 60 years old.
No, it's because of bad decision making. I'm not any less guilty for bad decision making, and my life reflects on it. But I don't blame it on any other skin color. My choices, my decisions. I messed up. But thank you for playing. Like and subscribe for more.